Good evening and welcome to the Monday Night Fitba show. I'm your host Scott McIntosh, and joining me this evening we've got a new pundit with our panel. We've got Jimmy Mcdowell. Say hi, Jimmy.
Hi Scott, how are you?
Not too bad, Jimmy. Thanks very much for joining me at this short notice, buddy. Now, as we alluded to last week, there have been a few sort of changes. We have had pretty much our own form of the January transfer window. Unfortunately, a couple of our main contributors with regards to the green side of the city have been able to go away and, get involved with other things due to family and work commitments. So we are looking to get some contributors back involved if we can. Failing that, then I'm afraid you're going to get lumbered with us, and it's going to be very hearts heavy. So that might change your mind, hibbies out there that are maybe still listening. So apologies in advance with regards to some of the future content, but I'm afraid that it's just outside of our direct control and influence just now. Now, in terms of tonight's show, we decided we're not going to cover the St Johnstone match on Saturday. We'll do that as an overall recap next Monday, taking in the League and Cup match. Plus, there wasn't really a lot that can be said about that game anyway. Sports Scene done very well just to get 2 or 3 minutes of highlights out of that, to be perfectly honest. So we decided, with the Scottish Cup match in mind, that we were going to try and cover our favourite moments and memories from the 3 previous Scottish Cup victories, and also try and compare them, see if we can try and come up with a definitive answer for which one was the most important or defining based on your experiences. So we've got a few criteria to go through today with regards to that. Now, again, any hibbies that are listening just now, I appreciate that this sounds as if we are just bringing out our comfort blankets because yous have won it most recently. And if I'm going to be honest, I would have done something for Hibs as well, but the only problem is if I wanted to compare 3 cup wins, I would have had to have tried contacting Buffalo Bill and the Queen Mother, and I'm afraid I just can't avoid the clairvoyance. So apologies in advance again, okay? I'm sure you'll come back to me with some very well timed barbs to that on Twitter later on this evening. So Jimmy, let's jump straight into just your general memories then of the 3 finals, and just purely generally prior to the match. What was your mood prior to each game? What were you thinking? What was your travel sort of arrangements for all 3?
Well, all 3 were kind of different. Rangers, I thought we were going to win. Now, as I think I said to you once before, thinking you're going to win and winning are 2 completely different things. The fact we did win it was different, but I was really confident before the Rangers game, but really, really, really nervous. I think I'd actually booked my own minibus with a 16-seater or something like that, and one of my mates' dads, he drove us through. So it was great. We were able to stop where we wanted. Everybody in the bus knew everybody, so had a great day. The Gretna game, to be honest with you, I booked a bus again for that one, and we were going to walk that. That was going to be a cricket score. No nerves whatsoever. How wrong you can be, obviously, as the game panned out on that one. Hibs game, me and my son went through in a bus from Broxburn actually, and that was quite subdued. I don't know, it shouldn't have been. It should have been the best of the lot, but I think it was just we were in a bus with guys we never knew. They weren't exactly party animals, so it was a bit subdued. My son was 12, so it restricted a wee bit of how much drinking we could partake before the game. Wasn't really nervous about the game at all. You're nervous because there's the off chance that something ridiculous could happen. It does happen now and again, but inside we were going to walk that one as well. So all 3 I thought we were going to win, but for different reasons, and a lot of it was more to do with hope than anything else.
My memories of the 3, I seem to remember quite clearly what I was doing for the 98 and 2012 finals. 2006, I do think I went through by train, but even that, I'm a bit sketchy on all the details. I don't know if that's drink related or what it was. But yeah, Thames in 98, we travelled with the Preston Pans Hearts. Went through with my dad and my uncle and a few of his friends. Now, we went to a Celtic boozer on the outskirts of Glasgow. I can't remember the name of it, but I do remember it was a decent boozer. Now, I wasn't legally, able to drink at that stage, so I couldn't tell you what the drink was like, but for what I remember, it was quite a raucous sort of atmosphere prior to the game, and there was a Rangers pub literally 5 minutes up the road, so I do remember there being a bit of back and forth between the 2 sets of fans before they travelled back through on the double decker. 2012, from what I can remember, we were supposed to be going to a pub in Glasgow before the game, so I was by this stage I had my membership with the Tollcross Hearts. Now, for some reason, we ended up being in it was like a old British Legion pub down at the bottom of Broughton Street. So we ended up in there, and for some reason I can't remember leaving till about 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I don't know if they just decided to, because the booze was that cheap in the Legion, to stay there. And of course, I felt fine the week leading up to that Hibs game. I felt that if our players performed, it wouldn't really matter what Hibs could do that day. But then on the morning, it just felt so differently. That was me. As soon as I went in there, my dad says, "What do you want to drink?" "Double Jack Daniels and Coke, please." And before I know it, I was on the bus. The bus itself was quite tense. I remember the Preston Pans bus for the 98 final. There was nothing to really lose. There was nothing to fear. 2012, there was that nagging doubt in the back of your head. As confident as you were, you just worried that they could do it. And I think, people prior up to the game were maybe saying, "Oh, well, it's not a case of us being under more pressure." I think there was. And I think that started to show because the bus was very, it was almost like you were going to a wake rather than a football game. And that might be down to the driver, to be perfectly honest. I remember the driver playing, do you remember that video, not a video cassette, but it was an audio cassette that we brought out in the early 90s, and it was like the Jamboree, and there was a song about Henry Smith and that, and he actually played that was supposed to G us up before the game. So I'm not quite sure if he was on the wind up or who gave him that instruction, but that definitely didn't help. I remember a few people actually getting a bit angsty with each other because someone had the gall to actually say that Gary O'Connor and Lee Griffiths weren't bad footballers. And that just seemed to this guy just went off his head and started saying, "Oh, there's nothing to fear, nothing at all." So that's what I remember about that one. So different sort of feelings and emotions leading up to all three. In terms of the criteria that we're going to cross then, I thought we would hit on goals first of all. Now this is quite a difficult one to try and, pick a favourite of. Importance-wise, they're generally all important. But I was trying to think of ones on a sort of technical base, what led to the sort of better final out of the three. Now, I look at 2012 and that would probably be my pick, just purely because it was all down to a lot of training ground, set plays and training that we'd done leading up to the game, and also throughout that season under Sergio in terms of that chaos factor. So it was a case of putting 3 or 4 defenders into the box and just trying to see how much sort of confusion we could cause in that area for all our set plays. What was your sort of feelings about sort of the goals from the 3 finals? If you were to pick a particular one for its technical merits, which one would it be?
Obviously, the technical merits are, 98, there wasn't even very much technical about them, apart from the shot, so it would have to be 2012. Rudy Scatchell's in 2006 wasn't bad, but it kind of scoffed it a bit, but it wasn't a bad goal. But I think 2012 has to be that, although I know you're looking for technical goals, but sometimes the goals I enjoy more are Ryan McGowan's, the ones where it's just a total and utter stramash and it goes in the net. That seems to be the ones that, especially winning the cup, I remember most of them kind of went mental at. But for technical, I know what you're saying. Watching the game back a few times, at the game I never noticed anything. And, I have to say that I never really noticed it. But maybe about the 10th time of watching it, I do agree with you that you could see, but I don't know whether a lot of that's got to do with the opposition. And I'm no meaning that bad against Hibs, but they weren't really at the races at all.
Well, it's something we'd used all season. It wasn't as if it was much. I mean, Sergio had actually planned that chaos factor in previous league matches, so you would have thought if Hibs had done their homework, they maybe would have been able to have cottoned onto that and maybe tried to neutralise that for it. I go back to 98, and I suppose the Stefan Adam shot itself, although a lot could be said about whether Gorham could get a stronger hand to it. Technically speaking, from that angle, it's still a great hit to play it across the goalkeeper as well.
It was a great hit. I just think, if I remember right, it came from a long ball out from Rusi.
Yeah.
So technically, it was a punt up the park that done good, and Amoruso could have done better as well. He kind of made a mess of it, so he left him, but he took it fantastic, and to see it going in was just the icing on the cake, really. So technically, it was a great shot. Technically. The build-up was obviously almost non-existent, but, who cares?
So we're going to go with 2012 for that one then, is that both our picks?
Definitely.
Fair enough. Now, I know that in terms of what people have been sending in on Twitter and on Kickback, I will be coming out and revealing the results of that poll later on this evening. I think the poll's ending in about 20 minutes, so you've still got time to add to that if you wish. I'm pretty sure 2012's quite far out ahead. Gretna, to be fair, has pulled in a few votes though. Now, going on and moving on swiftly then to controversy. Now, I felt that the goal side of things was going to be probably the least sort of side of this debate that we were going to cover, and it was going to be quite easy to just come up to an agreement. Some of the other categories though could be a bit more difficult for obvious reasons. Now, when I try and come up with a subject of controversy, it's going to cover a lot of different things that went for and against us over the course of the three finals. Now, I think we'll cover the against for us first of all and go to 2006. Now, you could say it was Hearts 1, Gretna 1, but you could also say it was Hearts 1, Dougie McDonald 1. And I have to say, I'm not one for wanting to come across as, being too paranoid, but I've heard a few people that have been able to, be in his company out with the football, pretend that they're on the Hibs side and get some interesting comments from him. What can you remember with regards to his performance that day?
A typical Dougie McDonald performance, absolute shocker, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the guy it wasn't really a secret that he was a Hibs fan. But that's by the by. That doesn't necessarily make you a bad ref or an anti-Hearts or anything. But some of the things he did, for instance, he actually was on the radio the week before or 2 or 3 weeks before, and it was a completely independent thing, but it always stuck in my mind. He said he would always try and give a penalty if the player tried to stay on his feet, rather than dive down. If the guy stays on his feet, he'll still give the penalty. And you're bound to remember the Rudy Scatchell one where he went...
That was an extra time, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
And that he tried to stay on his feet, but he stumbled forward. As far as I was concerned, that was a stonewall penalty. Play on. And I'm thinking, you just said 2 weeks ago you would always give a penalty for that. But obviously, he didn't mean for Hearts. And then the wee petulant kick for Hartley at the end. There was no need to send him off. I know rules are rules, but as all referees will tell you, you referee Old Firm games differently. So surely a cup final could come into that category as well. He's about 10 seconds away from penalties. Our top penalty taker never missed one. Opportunity to send him off. Dougie McDonald, absolute... Can I say what I'm really thinking of the guy?
I think I do remember stats that were floating about at the time. I don't know if this was his stats at the end of his refereeing career, but there was a time where I think we'd won one game in 17 that he'd officiated. I think it was a 4-1 win away to Livingston, and that's when we were, it was pretty impossible to beat us at that stage under Burley. It would have needed more than just an inept Dougie McDonald performance. He even gave us a penalty that day, to be fair to him. I'm trying to balance this up. I'm not doing a very good job of it. But yeah, I also remember that game because I think something that's been lost when discussing the 2006 final is how well we played. I think we had about 31 efforts on goal that day, and by rights we should have had the lion's share of the possession and the play in their final third. But bar about a 10 or 15 minute spell in the second half where we could have lost it if it hadn't been for that tackle from Nielsen, we were firmly in control, and we actually didn't play that badly today. And it was a bad case of poor finishing and some inept refereeing that seemed to sort of
hit
stop
the post
us.
as well, I think, did we?
Yeah, I think Chesnowskis hit the post and Bednar, I think, might have as well, actually. So there was definitely lots of chances there. You did allude there, though, to the controversy sort of sending off Hartley, and it was actually making me sort of think back to how I was feeling at that moment. I actually thought we were going to lose it when he was sent off.
Well, we didn't really have anybody else that had the opportunity to take penalties all season. So.
I think I remembered Presley clearly for years before, but I remember seeing Robbie Nielsen stand up and step up to take one, and all I could remember from Robbie penalty-wise was missing on a very cold and blistery Tuesday night up in Dingwall in a League Cup game a few years previous, so I had no confidence in Robbie scoring. I mean, Mikey Pospisil was a decent finisher, but I wasn't too sure how he was going to get on either, and come to think it, we didn't have anything to worry about. We scored our 4 penalties very easily.
I reckon it's 4 of the best penalties I've ever seen, back to back anyway. Or you talk about West Germany or Brazil or something, but actually live, that was the best 4 penalties I'd seen in a shootout ever.
And Alan Main had a good record, maybe not so much later on in his career, but he was at St Johnstone and that he was a good shot stopper when it came to penalties. I don't think any keeper would have saved him though, because if you remember, every one of them went on the inside of the side net. That's right.
Maybe a goalie 8 feet tall would get them, but that they were perfect penalties.
Definitely. Now, we then go to some of the controversy that probably went for us then in the other 2 finals then away from 2006. Now, let's go to 1998 first. McCoist running through on goal, 10 minutes to go, Davy Weir brings him down. What were your thoughts, A, at the time, and B, looking back on the replays?
At the time, penalty. And luckily for me, I looked at the referee because I didn't put my head in my hands.
I looked at the fans, I didn't look at the referee. That was my mistake.
I looked at the ref and I realised they hadn't, and I was so relieved. But I don't know if you've ever had the chance to watch it back on the television and listen to the commentary. The commentator actually says, and it's a penalty for Rangers.
Yeah.
So people at home must have been that,
I actually think it was Craig Brown was doing the co-commentating at that time, and he was actually, if you listen back on that game and watch it throughout the whole match, he doesn't say a lot, but that moment he just seems to just spark up all of a sudden, and he shouts penalty. But I was sitting at the far end next to where they were rebuilding Parksley Parkhead, so I didn't get a very good view of where the incident was. So I reacted to the Rangers players, and I'd literally, and of course my dad wasn't there to comfort me, as we'll allude to later on in the programme, the reasons for that. But I had no one to turn to say, look, it's just a free kick. And it took me a good 2 or 3 minutes to actually click onto the fact, until I saw the wall getting put together, that in fact he had just blown for a free kick.
I think as well the fact that we were playing Rangers, and this was one of the best Rangers teams I'd ever seen at the time. They were coming to the end, but and I think if I'm right in saying that they won nothing that season. This was their one chance to win something for Walter Smith, who was leaving, and I can't remember who else, but a lot of the players were.
I think McCall, Ian Ferguson, McCoy. Yeah, there was quite a lot.
So everything, the odds were stacked up for a referee. It happens, to give Rangers their penalty with 9 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, something like that. So, I think 99 times out of 100 a penalty would be given there in that instant. I still, even having watched it on the television, I couldn't honestly tell you right now whether it officially was one or not. Yeah. But it wasn't, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's so, and the thing is, they do teach referees to only give something if they're 100% certain. So I suppose if we still can't determine it after seeing the replay, God knows how many times we would have watched it by now. Aye. But them in live action, I think they probably made the right decision at that moment. Sticking with that then, and we're talking about the free kick being given there, that was probably something where we got a bit of luck that year. Just due to the fact that George Alberts was suspended leading up to that game, because I remember us giving a lot of the game away in our own half, and fortunately it was Amoruso or Gordon Jury that were lining up the free kicks the majority of the time. It would have been interesting to have seen what would have happened there, given what Alberts had done to us in the league games that season. I think it's fair to say we got the slicey luck that we needed that year, and it's something we'll probably touch on when we talk about the running to the cup final as well. Now, moving on to 2012 now, if there still is any Hibs fans still out there listening just now, this could be the bit that they find a little bit interesting. I'm going to talk about the controversial moments in the games soon, but I want to take this opportunity to get your feelings on the consistent jibe about cheating and the squad that we assembled for that final match. Now, before I get your feelings on it, Jimmy, I want to sort of go through the team that played that day for Hearts. Jamie McDonald, youth product. Andy Webster, free transfer. Darren Barr, Falkirk. Danny Granger, St Johnstone. Ryan McGowan, youth product. Stephen Elliott, free transfer from Preston. Andy Driver, youth product. Now, I think it's fair to say that Hearts as a club were guilty of what could be deemed financial doping under Romanov, like most clubs do that have flamboyant chairmen and they spend money that either they have or don't have that goes outside of the normal revenue streams. But I find the cheats tag quite strange, considering that when you look at the team of players we had, yes, they were probably getting paid more than they should have been, but the standard of player we had were players that we could have signed in any Hearts era probably. So you look at Darren Barr and Danny Granger and that, we were the pinnacle of their career. We would have signed them regardless of how much silly money that someone like Pedro Lopez was drawing up in these contracts. What's your opinion of that sort of constant sort of little nagging little sort of jibe that always gets flung back in our faces whenever we bring up this final?
Well, you could add it to the list as long as your arm. He jibes about anything that Hearts have done that just doesn't go the way they want it to be. You're saying, financial doping. I think Hibs have been guilty of that as well. Just so happens they never won the cup. I'm sure they were actually in a lower league at the time, half of it. So, all teams do it. Romanoff, fair enough, there wasn't really a lot we could do as supporters. Stop going, go on a boycott. Half of it we didn't know anyway, and we never knew this was going to happen in the future. As it turns out, it's the best thing that's ever happened to us. You know, people that are anti-Romanoff and the rest of it, I was never anti-Romanoff. What we did under him, it nearly killed the club, but we've actually came back stronger. We learnt our lesson, but as for cheating, no way. If that's cheating, then we're all guilty of it. Every single one of us is guilty of it.
You think it's more of a case of business risks when you go spending money that clearly you're not quite sure if you can recoup, so it's speculate to accumulate?
Well, you've also got to take the economic downturn that happened. I'm pretty sure Romanoff did not realise that he was going to end up being an exile who was getting hounded to go back to Lithuania. You know, it's just the money that he thought he was going to make and he thought he had, all of a sudden, almost overnight, became quartered, virtually worthless. So, you know, and that impinges on us as a football team because he's put that much money into us, or at least he's supposedly put money into us and promised wages. How he went about things was shocking as far as the players and the people that worked here was concerned. But we weren't really party to that as supporters at the time. Hindsight's a brilliant thing, but when you know, I just think at the time his plans for Hearts, if the economic state had stayed the way it was, we could have been like up there. Maybe no Celtic level, I'm not being as ridiculous as that, but we never went through administration, etc. But you know, we never knew at the time.
Thanks for that, Jimmy. I just thought it was a vital thing to sort of touch on. It's something we've never really covered on the show, just purely because we've never really had a nostalgic look back to the Cup victories. There's been the odd little comment, but we've never really had a chance to really kind of jump on it and give our own sort of side of it. So I just felt that when you talk about controversy, it is a valid point to maybe try and look back at. In terms of during the game then, there's probably two flashpoints that you probably need to cover that went in our favour. Now, when I say that, I would probably like to add that the first point could have had an overall effect on the game. The second point definitely doesn't. I think the game's pretty much done by then. Ian Black on Lee Griffiths, it was probably about the 8th or 9th minute of the game. It's fair to say it's one of those ones that players under the likes of Terry Butcher and that are probably told to make those types of tackles first 5-10 minutes and you'll probably get away with it. But really looking back at it, it could have been a red card, a straight red for that. It was pretty reckless. What was your thoughts?
At the time, you know, when you're standing with a terrible view you get at Hampden, I wasn't even aware of it, to be honest with you. But I've heard and saw it loads of times since. I've heard lots about it. You've got to take the talk about Scott Brown this week. You know, it's exactly the same thing. Everybody's sticking up for what Scott Brown did last week, and fair enough. That's what football is all about. If he did that, he would get away with it. Ian Black did get away with it. But obviously certain people think that he should have had a red card on another day. Well, Dougie McDonald's referee, he would have been red carded instantly. Fair play, it's just your luck on the day. I think the fact that it was a cup final, the referee probably doesn't want to send anybody off so soon. Maybe played in their favour. Ian Black, maybe knowing that, or thinking that, that's one of the reasons why he thought, I'm going to get one in early. Luckily for us, everything turned out okay. As I say, at the game, I never even saw it.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't remember the incident being as bad as how it came across in the replays during the time. I just thought, he'd won the ball and he's went through the player as he's done it. Going on to the second point then, so with the Ian Black one, naturally if that went against us, that could have had an effect on the game, given how early it happens and the fact that Black was playing so deep, he was orchestrating things, and Hibs never really laid a glove on him all game, which kind of played into our hands. The second decision then is the penalty. Now, there's no argument to be made, at least as far as I see it, over the sending off. It's a second booking. He pulls the jersey and then he clips the feet. What's your thoughts on whether it's a penalty though? Do you think that the decision needs to be made at the shirt pull, or do you think that it's right that it's given at the point that the clip of the foot is actually shown?
I'm going to sound like I'm totally biased here, but it was a penalty 100%. And the reason for that is, I'm not exactly an expert in the rules of the game, but I've heard them saying it often enough. It's not a foul until the referee decides. He can let the game go on as long as he wants. He can let the foul be continued. If it continues into the box, then it is a penalty. And it did continue into the box. He's pulling his shirt back, Suso's still running, so he's no reason to stop the game. He may score, he may not, doesn't matter. He's what you see how it goes. He then at the same time lets his shirt go and clips his foot. I don't think he actually meant to clip his foot, I have to be honest with you on that one. But he did clip his foot, and the fact that he let Suso's shirt go at that point is what put him off balance, because he was pushing against it, and that was inside the box. So for Hibs fans to say that it was outside the box, just read the rules of the game.
Fair enough. Am I going to get away with putting your Twitter handle on our official feed tonight? It's just for any sort of feedback I get for Hibs fans, that's all.
Aye, certainly.
Just to deflect it away from me for the first opening comments. So in terms of... Because this is a hard one to try and pick a final for, because you're kind of picking it for controversial reasons. But it's something that can add to a cup final or an experience. Again, I feel like a lot of the stuff that happened in 2012, I didn't really see it until I took the beer goggles off and watched it over again the following day. So it's hard for me to sort of pick that for what happened then, whereas the 98 one, that was pretty much a do or die situation. If they'd given the penalty, what would have happened to us? Would we have crumbled? So for me, I would probably pick the 98 one just based on those reasons.
I think so. And also, well, I don't know if you remember it, but there was a lot of controversy about whether our penalty actually was a penalty as well.
That's right. That is right.
And I mean, okay, I think it was, but I'm a bit more sceptical of that one as I am about the 2012 one. You know, that was one where they didn't have as many camera angles, they didn't have HD then, so it was a bit, it's not quite as cut and dried. I thought it was at the game, but that's irrelevant. I am biased. I've got, you know, that's obvious.
It certainly was a game that didn't really benefit from the angles in terms of having something for the other side of Fulton to show you I'm going into the box. It was all sort of filmed from the side of him, from someone in the box, so to speak. That
so
sort
it's
of
point
of view rather than behind them. So it would be interesting to be able to see that. Did look a penalty, and it has pretty much looked like one any time that I've watched it back. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to a quick ad break, but we're going to play a tune just before that, just to kind of stoke up the nostalgic feelings here for anyone listening in this evening of A Heart's Persuasion. Now I think you'll probably remember this one. We are cheating a little bit because I really should be picking Daft Punk One More Time if I was going to go back to the 2006 Cup final, but I've decided to go to the semi-final anyway, because as most of you have said on Twitter recently over the last 24 hours, the semi-final was pretty much the final anyway. So I hope you are going to enjoy this tune and the ads that follow, and we'll be back soon.
Taking their time right behind my back. Anderson's Butchers of North Berwick have been providing a first-class service to customers since 1990 and have an invaluable reputation for the quality of their products across East Lothian and beyond. They always source local produce whenever possible, and their meat products are second to none, including the famous homemade Anderson's steak pie and award-winning sausages. Open daily on North Berwick's High Street and also Sunday mornings. Anderson's offer a free delivery service to anywhere in East Lothian, with telephone orders always welcome. Call Anderson's Family Butchers on 01620 892 964.
Advertising on the radio is still one of the most primary sources to get your message and your company's values across. If you wish to advertise with Radio Saltaire, email now to info@radiosaltaire.org.
AC Taxis offer a full comprehensive private hire taxi, minibus and coach service throughout East Lothian. If you're going to a party, a business conference or enjoying a day at the races, we can cater for your every need with vehicles capable of carrying up to 36 passengers. Our taxi service is second to none. Call AC Taxis now on 01875 615015.
We are Radio Saltaire. Music for Scotland.
Welcome back to the Monday Night Fitba Show on Radio Saltaire. Just a little plug for Mitch Stevenson. He's going to have his melodic rock show coming up at 8 o'clock this evening, so stay tuned for 2 hours there. He's going to be playing some decent tunes there between 8 and 10. Now, going back to the Scottish Cup nostalgia sort of rewind that we've got this evening as a bit of a special sort of treat for you Hearts fans out there. We're going to touch on the next category. So we've decided so far that the goals were 2012 and the controversy was 1998. Now we're now going to go into the result itself and what that meant in context of the opposition and the overall sort of feeling that it left us at the end of the game. Let's just go to 2006 first of all and get that out of the road, because that's the one that's probably got the most sort of negative sort of stigma attached to it. It was almost like a lose-lose situation. We were expected to win. If we'd won, 3 or 4-0 handsomely, we wouldn't really have got much credit out of it. And it turned out that the way that we won, it was all going to kind of fall into that whole fairy tale sort of story, which kind of derailed fairly quickly after that for Gretna and for Brooks Melson. What do you think with regards to that result and the kind of, not legacy, but how we viewed that particular 11 that played? Because in terms of overall talent, it could be argued that that's the best overall team of the three, yet because of the final itself, it's maybe not looked on with the same sort of fondness as the other two cup winning teams.
Yeah, I think you're right there. The squad itself that day was well, we had Callum Elliott right enough. We did have a few players that were one of the world beaters, but on the whole, that was a fantastic squad we had. It's been said by many people, but the semi was our final, and I think we were a bit more, after the Lord Mayor's parade for the final. That was us. Whereas Gretna were like, they had nothing to lose. It doesn't matter. They were expected to lose, so they could go for it, and they actually played really well that day. And they had some good players in their team. I mean, if you want to talk about teams cheating and financial doping, just look back to Gretna. I mean, they were punching. Yeah,
they were the darlings. It was strange the narrative that was given to those two teams, given that they were on fairly similar paths with regards to the flamboyant chairman. Were we outstretching our resources in terms of the players we were bringing in? They were throwing Premiership wages at what was probably still a fairly decent Premiership players. You look at Ryan McGuffey or Grady, Derek Townsley, Gavin Skelton, even Danny Granger, who wasn't included in the squad that day due to being cup tied, but they had a decent set of players.
And the goalie was Alan, was it?
Alan Main, yeah.
I mean, there was one time I was wanting Hearts to try and sign him. They had a good team. And they beat Dundee in the semi, I think. Now, I can't remember if Dundee were a Premier team at the time, but if they weren't, they were definitely at the top of
the
they
were either that or at the top of the first division. So and they didn't even just beat them, they actually hammered them.
They did.
Because I remember watching that. Now, where was that? Because I have to admit, this is something I'm going to have to admit to all you listeners out there, I didn't make the semi-final. I think that's why I kind of don't really get into the whole 2006 thing, because whenever you want to talk about it, people go, oh, but what were you doing for the semi? And I'm like, I was in London. Now, I'd actually bought tickets to see Depeche Mode months in advance. So I had to watch the semi-final, and I think it was called the Three Kings, where the London Hearts sometimes meet up as well. So there was actually quite a few Hearts fans in there. So I went with my uncle, and the second good thing about that day, because naturally it was good that Hearts won, but I actually put a fiver on 4-0 as well and fun £365. So the gig was quite a good one. But yeah, I do regret missing that, and I think that's why I never really look on that running overly fondly, because I was at all the other games, but to be honest, it didn't really matter, because the one that mattered was the semi.
I did it. I probably did I made up for you, because we actually decided to go through to Glasgow on Saturday night, and we stayed over. And we just went drinking in Glasgow, booked into a hotel over in, I think it's the Gorbals, but you know how it's been regenerated. So
yeah,
it's nice
that's
over
right.
there. We stayed at a hotel there, and then it was quite good because it was an early kick-off on a Sunday. I think it was 11 o'clock or 12 or something like that.
It was definitely 12 or half 12, aye.
So you couldn't get a drink, but in the hotel you could. So we had everybody that knew were in the hotel phoning saying, is your bar open? So everybody was piling into the hotel. They were probably looking about going, how come there's 50 jambos but we only had 20 staying, you know? But
yeah.
So we made up for it. It was a great day, that. Hate to rub it into you, Scott, but it was a great day.
No, that's okay. I'm glad someone had fun. I definitely didn't. I mean, thinking back to those players then and that overall team and the result itself, where does that team stand in terms of the ones that you've seen throughout your whole Hearts career?
Wow, it's different. The best players in my mind are the ones that were before your time, but they wouldn't even get into the Hearts team now. That's a fact. You know, my dad goes on about Willie Bald, but Willie Bald wouldn't get a game now.
Do you think that the glasses that you wear as a child make it easier to view those players as heroes? It was something that I found interesting when I was looking at the results of the poll this morning, and someone was pointing out the fact that some people did actually, vote for the Gretna game, and the kind of says, well, is it a Hibs fan, and having a bit of a dig, what's that all about? And I was like, well, if you were 12 or 13, they were your heroes.
Aye.
And I think regardless of what happens to you as an adult, you do sometimes look back on those players, and regardless of what they've done, you'll always have those sort of rose-tinted glasses. I know for me, doing this show, I've interviewed a few guys from my time as a fan when I was younger and also recent times, and as much as I've enjoyed being in the company of guys like, whether it be Ryan McGowan or Mikey Stewart or Christian Naddy or anyone like that, I've always felt very comfortable talking to them. The two times I was actually my most nervous was Alan McLaren and Gary Mackay, because they were my heroes when I was younger. So it was more difficult for me, because whenever I see those people, I still revert back to my childlike status, and I still see them as wearing the strip and running out on the park. And I think that's probably why people can still, quite rightly look back on the Gretna game and look at it fondly, because that was maybe their first experience at Hampden supporting Hearts, or at least their first time seeing them win the cup.
It's funny because I was asking my son's 18, so he missed he wasn't even born for the Rangers one, but he was at the Gretna one.
I was just about to say, wasn't there a result of that, was it? Doesn't quite work, just off a wee bit.
But he had, he was 6 for the Gretna one, and he was Roman Bednar after he had the Bednar hairdo with the maroon Mohican thing and all the rest of it. Yeah, his favourite is still the Hibs one. But I've managed to brainwash him, because he does say to me now, yeah, I do agree that if I'd been alive, I think the Rangers one would have been the best one. So I'm getting through it.
You've got another convert there. So moving on for the result then, let's just sort of see which one, given the quality of opposition then in the Rangers team at the time, do you think it's an easy one to say that that's probably the pick out of the 3 results, or is the fact that the historical significance given to the 5-1 gives that the edge?
Well, for me, both are possibilities, but for me it has to be the Rangers one. Maybe it's my age, but you've got to take into consideration that, guys 30, I was 35 at the time, 36, never seen us win anything. And I have to be honest with you, up until I was about 30, 96, I started to think we could, although we got pumped 5-1 in the final. But we did well. I beat Aberdeen in the semi and things. I think this is doable. I had not thought Hearts would ever win anything in my lifetime. So to do it, and for the first time in 37 years, I think it was, and 42 for the Scottish Cup, against a really good and strong Rangers team through in Glasgow, to me that has to be the best ever. I definitely don't want to down Hibs too much, but they weren't exactly the strongest team to play against. Yes, you've got the rivalry, the derby, it's two Edinburgh teams, you've got all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not Rangers, it's the strong Rangers that used to be. So it has to be 98. That has to be the best one.
As much as it was nail-biting at the time of the 98 final, given those last sort of 10 minutes plus 6 or 7 minutes of injury time that I think Willie Young managed to amass from that day, would you say that in itself adds to the whole fondness of looking back on that Rangers game compared to the Hibs game? There was almost an element by the time we got to seeing the players lift the trophy in 2012, the game was done 40 minutes earlier, and I think it was almost as if the celebrations, I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone still had a great time, but they almost sort of diluted a little bit just due to the fact that you felt like you'd overexerted yourself celebrating the final result well before the final whistle was actually even blown.
I think so. I mean, exactly the same as you're saying there. I loved the 5-1. It was the scoreline, your local rivals. I loved that. But after the fourth one went in, game was over. The game was over after the third one, but the fourth was rapid behind it. So that was it. The game is totally over at that point. Whereas in 98, absolutely nerve-wracking. And the funny thing is, in 98, when we were 2-0 up, Thomas Vogel had a great chance to score. And if he
was with the header, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
For the
It was a
McCann
great
cross.
save by Gorham. Was it Gorham?
Aye.
If that had went in 3-0, we would have been wall-to-wall singing for the rest of the game. But instead, the minute they got a goal, you could have had a pin drop just about in the hearts, and everybody was biting their nails, and that did add to it. So when that final whistle went, you could go nuts. Whereas when the final whistle went at 5-1, well, we knew we'd won it anyway. So that's got to have a bearing on it, I think.
I think what you said there with regards to how you were feeling and if that Vogel chance had went in, it kind of perfectly segues into something I wanted to touch on regarding the change that Rangers made at half time that day, bringing on McCoist. That definitely gave them a shot in the arm. For all of their possession in the first half, they looked a bit toothless. And as soon as McCoist came on, I always remember reading someone, doing a bit of a report on the final. It was in one of the fanzines, and I really can't remember if it was always the bridesmaid or not, but he actually described his feelings at half-time seeing McCoist coming on and saying he could almost see the future Question His Sports show where Sue Barker would turn round to him and say, well, what happened next, Ali? And he says, well, I come on and score half an hour and Hearts are defeated once more in a major cup tie. And that's always struck with me. I always think that's probably how the majority of us were thinking, seeing him come on. Even although he was in his advanced years, he could still score, as he proved to do that day. It was a great goal for him in the through ball for Gattuso. And like we said, he could quite easily have won a penalty as well shortly after that. So I do remember that feeling. And also I think, as we're still sort of touching on feelings and how the final result felt to us, I think this is why I'll always pick the 2-1 game. And it isn't really even just for how I felt at it, because I was just 14 coming on 15 at the time. I hadn't really got to know really what it was like to be a Hearts fan, and I'd been at a few semi-finals, twice against Airdrie. I'd also seen us get beaten a couple of finals off the Rangers, a semi-final for Rangers, but I hadn't really seen a lot of heartache. I was too young for 86 or, the semi-finals in 87 and 88. But my dad had been through it all, and my dad was of a generation that he was probably too young to really appreciate them winning back in 62 with the League Cup. So for him, it was years and years, especially the yo-yo years in the late 70s, early 80s, he really having to stick with the team. And I think about 5 minutes after Hearts scored the second goal, he went to the toilet and never came back till the final whistle. And I remember going to look for him because he didn't tell me where he was going. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, I was like, is it got too much for him? So I ended up going to look for him, and he was in the toilet. And it wasn't just him. There was a huge group of guys that just clearly couldn't take themselves through it. And I remember thinking, God, that's what it actually means. And then after the game, I mean, me and my dad are, I think if someone was to sort of say, well, write up a sitcom and think of people who would represent a father and son sort of British sort of dynamic, me and my dad are like that. We don't really hug a lot or tell each other how much we love each other. It's not a Weathers original advert in our life, but we love each other. And that's one of the few times where I remember hugging him. And I mean properly hugging him. Not hugging him in a celebration like you do when you score a goal, but properly hugging him. And that's probably why the 2-1 game will always stick out to me for the result and the overall feelings, because it'll never be beaten. I think we'd probably need to win the league. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So for me, it's going to be very hard to eclipse that.
I think one of the things that happened for me that day, which goes along with what you're saying, was on our bus, the driver, who was my friend's dad, he would be, it's hard to gauge now, but I'm guessing he must have been 65, something like that. Final whistle, tears rolling down his face. Now, he wasn't drinking, because he was driving the bus, and he wasn't an emotional person that I ever saw. You know, I mean, he was a businessman, well-dressed, shirt and tie, tears streaming down his face. Now, that's somebody in his 60s, so he had seen it. He'd probably just caught the hind end of 62 League Cup. Was it 62?
Yeah.
He must have saw that, but he still had 37 years of nothing. And to see somebody, because we were patting him on the back saying, "You okay, Joe?" You know, because we're thinking this is unusual, but that's what it meant to everybody that day. I think kids maybe not so much, you know, yourself, because you're 14. I never stop telling my son how lucky he is to have seen his team win 2 trophies by the time he's 12. You know, I keep saying I was 36. I've never seen us win anything. You know,
and I think the overall experience, and again, I could just be, you know, pointing this out as an individual. I don't know what the experiences are like for people coming out the ground after that game, but there were still pockets of Rangers fans kicking about. You know, some of them even applauded Hearts round the ground that day, and I think they realised that they'd had it good. And I remember lots of Rangers fans congratulating Hearts fans on the fact that they'd finally won something. And I know that there's naturally always that banter about, you know, the sons and the cousins of William and that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, that was one of the most positive reactions I've seen from an opposite crowd of fans. And again, I can only talk about my own experiences. There could be other people that say that they got chased back on their bus, but yeah, I have to admit that just added to the whole experience that day for me.
We had a bit of both, because we did see Rangers fans that, well, in fact, no, both, 3 things. We had Rangers fans that totally ignored us, which was fine, and we did have a few that said well done, but we also had a couple that were giving us so much grief, you know, but it didn't matter. We weren't fussy. Like, you're going to get that in everywhere. Hearts supporters are going to play balmy supporters as well, you know. That's it. They're no unique to Rangers and Celtic, but we met a couple on the way back to our bus park, and I remember the guy that was in charge of the park where we'd parked up the bus. He came out and he went, "Yous have just won the cup. Why are you all so subdued?" And we actually said we're just not used to this. We weren't sure how to celebrate.
That's something I actually saw quite a bit in the comments section of the Twitter poll. There was lots of fans, and I remember this on the Preston Pans. Arsenal were playing Newcastle in the FA Cup that day, and I think they won 2-0.
2-0, that's right.
So there was quite a few sort of Newcastle guys on the bus. My cousin actually got the bus back with us coming back. He missed the raffle bus, so I had to travel back with us. He had no it, because I think all of the buses got reparked somewhere else after they dropped everyone off. So I remember getting on the bus, and I think we were still in Glasgow at about 6 o'clock, to be perfectly honest. We're still waiting on a few stragglers. And on the bus going back through into Edinburgh, it was so subdued. I think people just didn't know how to react. I think they knew, because I heard my dad say it so many times after the semi-finals at Hampden, saying, "I don't want to go back." I think they'd primed themselves for that sort of reaction, that they didn't know what to do when they finally won it. And it wasn't until you got into sort of that Sight Hill area and you could actually see the firemen or people just coming out into the roundabouts and then along past Lucky's pub that you realised they'd actually won it.
I think so too. I think for us, the one, when it hit home to us, I don't know if you noticed this, when you're coming along the M8, somebody at Livingston, round about the Dean's area, I think, had taken a massive bed sheet or something and just wrote "Well Done Hearts" on it. It sounds very 50s-ish, because if they wrote anything now, it's usually derogatory or something, but it just says "Well Done Hearts," and they draped it down from the bridge so you went underneath it. And that was the first of it. I thought, brilliant, here we go. That was when I think we all decided, right, let's have a party, you know.
Now, given that it's a radio show, I'm afraid we're not going to have to touch too much on what happened past about sort of 7 or 8 o'clock in any of these cup finals, okay? We'll try and keep that for maybe a podcast special one day. I do remember, though, getting dropped off. I think it was just outside the Haymarket bar in 98. My dad and that just left me to it with my pal and just says, "Find your own way home." He went to the bar with my cousin and my uncle, and I think I walked back down to Tynecastle that evening to wait on the players coming back. I don't think I was there that much before them, because we must have been one of the last buses through there. It was about 7:30, 8 o'clock, I think, by the time we got back for that game. Like I say, there was a few stragglers from our bus that we needed to wait on. In terms of the sort of overall result then and that feeling, would you say that 98 just can't be beaten then in that category?
And it can't be beaten, in my opinion, and I hope it never is, because that would mean we'd go another 42 years without winning anything, because I think that's the only way we would ever have those feelings again. Somebody now not seen us win anything until whatever it is, 2050 something. That's the only way that'll ever be beaten, and so I hope it never is.
Now, keeping with the 1998 theme, we're now just going to throw away to another song and a couple of ad breaks as well. I'm hoping people remember this. Now, this has actually been hijacked a little bit by Hibs fans recently. I'm not quite sure they understand the irony picking a song from a year in which the rivals won a cup and they got relegated. So let's try and remind them here, okay? This is going to be some Dario G, followed up by some ads. Then we'll come back and wrap up our nostalgic show. Stay tuned on Radio Saltire.
Whether you're a small firm or a big business, Radio Saltire can help you. Find out more how advertising on Scotland's national radio station can help by emailing info@radiosaltire.org.
Music. music for Scotland. Radio Saltire.
And welcome back to the Monday Night Football Show. So we've got two more categories that we're going to pick out here with regards to our nostalgic look back on Hearts Cup victories over the last 20 years. Now the next one is going to be the run-in up to the final. Now this is where probably the Gretna 2006 final might actually be able to claw a bit of a point back, because our run-up to that group of games were quite difficult. Now they were all home matches leading up to the semi-final against our closest rivals. We played Aberdeen, Kilmarnock and then First Division at the time, Partick Thistle. What were your memories of that run-in and just how hard that actually was compared to some of the previous we've had?
Well, I think one of the hardest games of the whole lot of them was the Partick Thistle game, which I have to be honest with you, I forgot they were a lower league team until you said that the other now. Was that the one that Bednar was sent off?
Sent off for diving, yeah.
Sent off. So we really toiled in that one. Kilmarnock, I cannot even remember that. I remember the Aberdeen game. That was, we seemed to brush past them quite easily.
It was one of the first cases of Vlad flu, because I remember we just signed Bislija and Goncalves and a few others in the January transfer window, and I think Scatchell was dropped under the instruction of Romanov to allow certain new signings a game. So I was quite a bit apprehensive beforehand, but we were comfortable winners in the end.
That was the Kilmarnock game?
No, that was the Aberdeen
Aberdeen
game. Kilmarnock game, Jamie McAllister got a rare goal for us. One of his last appearances for us, I remember that.
See, that just shows you I must have pickled my brain after the final, because I honestly cannot remember that game at all. The other ones, yeah, Partick, Aberdeen, Hibs, I remember that one. But yeah, it was a hard. If they hadn't been at home, I don't think we might have done quite so well, obviously, because we're not being great in cup ties away from home.
Well, the 98 final, a run-up leading to that also included a batch of home games up until the semi-final game at Ibrox against Falkirk, but it was all against lower opposition. Could have been the first, if you look back on it, that's probably the first inkling that there was that it could have been our year. You always need a bit of luck to win any cup, and I think it's fair to say that the bit of luck we got in the final, as we talked about with regards to certain Rangers players being suspended or in their advancing years, and then the run-up that we had against the likes of Albion Rovers, Clydebank, Ayr United, and then into the actual semi-final itself against a Falkirk team that really didn't deserve to lose that day. What do you remember about that Falkirk game and just how well Kevin McAllister played that day?
Oh, that was scary at that one. I think I went through the whole spectrum of emotions at that game, because I went there thinking we're going to win. Adam gets the early goal. That's no problem. This is going to be a nice, easy day. And then it completely changed. And at the end, when it was 1-1, we were hanging on. And I mean, we as supporters, I was quite happy. I would have taken a replay at that point, because they were going to go on and win, in my eyes. But obviously, it was Neil McCann had the two goals he scored. So they then went from being happy, content, like totally and utterly nervous, to being happy again. He went through the whole thing. But it was an amazing game, but it could have so easily went another way. He was fantastic, McAllister, that day.
I remember thinking back during that game, and even in the first half when Falkirk started to get control of the game through McAllister, Naismith had been playing week in, week out for a good 2 or 3 months prior to that game, and Poynton hadn't been involved. And I remember thinking, we could have done with Neil Poynton in that sort of game, just to go through McAllister in the first 5-10 minutes, even if it meant picking up a book and just to let him know he was there. I think that probably advanced Gary Naismith's learning progress. At least it must have jumped up a couple of years just through that experience alone, because Kevin McAllister definitely taught him a few lessons that day.
Oh, definitely. It was actually, because they were wanting, the media were trying to get him in the Scotland squad after that. It was that good. And on that display that day, he was Scotland class, but he just didn't do that every week, obviously.
Going on to the 2012 run-in then, that was probably the one that we made hardest work of. You touch on Auchinleck Talbot. People tend to actually forget that was part of that run-in. I think we scored with about 10 or 15 minutes to go that day to scrape a 1-0 win. They actually had a rightly onside goal chopped off in the last minute for offside as well.
Right.
We then sort of make hard work of the St Johnstone and St Mirren ties. They both go to replays, which we win at what were predominantly hard venues for us. And then you go into the semi-final against Celtic, and albeit Celtic's form under Neil Lennon in cup games was not great, and it would even continue in that same vein until he left the club as manager, we still, again, Celtic had a lot of the game that day, and we made a bit more of a positive substitution at half-time through Craig Beattie. Similar to the Hibs game, I've heard some people describe the Celtic game as the final, i.e. the time where they thought, it's our cup, we're not going to lose this. What were your thoughts at the time, especially after Celtic had got that late goal to make it 1-1?
Well, do you know what? It's my turn to make a confession here, because you never made the Hibs game in 2006. I never made the Celtic game. And I absolutely hated the fact that everybody else was there. It told me how fantastic it was. I've seen it on the telly, obviously.
It wasn't a brilliant crowd, though. I think there was a few Hearts fans that missed that game. I think there was only about 9,000 that went through there, because it was a Sunday lunchtime game, I think. And I don't think we fancied our chances, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I still remember listening to the game. We're 1-0 up. I was so nervous. They equalised. I turned the radio off, because that's it. We're through in Glasgow. We're playing Celtic in a semi. That's us. We're getting beat. And I happened to just have a look at my phone later on to see how many goals we got beat by, to see it was 2-1 to Hearts, thinking it was still going an extra time, and going, full time. I couldn't believe this. And that was it. I so wish I'd went to that game, because I could have went. I just thought, no, I'm sick of going to semis and seeing us getting beat by Celtic. I just didn't want to go. And my son rubs it in, because he says it was one of the best games he's ever been to.
I think the way that it worked out as well, let's be honest, the penalty, if we were to go back to controversy and bits of luck that you need in cup wins, I think that penalty that we got was definitely one of those where, I think it's fair to say that having your hand by your side at a very low position isn't an unnatural position for it to be in. So for the referee to give that as a penalty kick is probably quite a harsh one. So we definitely were riding our luck that day.
Are you sure what the rule was that year, though? Because they seem to change it for year to year about where your hands have to be. And
I think any time it gets brought up in the media, they just fall back to that whole referee's interpretation and just put it back on the referee when they talk about that. Yeah, I know. I've gave up trying to interpret that rule for quite a while. In terms of sort of run-ins then, which one do you find the most memorable then, given that for a couple of them you've got, huge, defining moments in semi-finals, but then you go to the 98 one and you actually have the same thing, albeit against lesser opposition.
Well, obviously, I don't think I could honestly pick 2006 if I forgot one of the teams. As I say, I've got a mental block with the Kilmarnock game for some strange reason. I cannot get it. But I think that for me, the hardest run-in has to be 2012. Anytime you're going to play one of the old firm through in Glasgow, final is a one-off, because they always say the hardest defeat is in a semi, because you're never really remembered apart from by your own supporters. So I think that has to be the hardest run-in for the final between the three. Okay.
Now, our final sort of thing that we're going to touch on today, it's actually a bit more of a sort of negative subject. It's actually going to discuss the legacy of each cup-winning team. Now, when you go back and look at each squad, the following season, it gets pretty much stripped away, albeit for different reasons. So you go back to 1998, within 12 months we've lost Salvatore, Weir, McCann, Richie's already at that stage, failing to sign a new contract. Dave McPherson retires, John Robertson moves on straight away after that cup win, so does Neil Poynton if you go into the larger squad. You then look at 2006, albeit this was more of a self-destruct mode, but Gordon's away within a year, Presley and Hartley are away the following season, Scatchell's away that summer as well, and then you look at 2012 and the majority of those players were all away that summer due to the fact that we couldn't afford to keep many of them on. Does it bring a little sort of, is there a bit of a sort of tingy, bittersweet sort of element to it, given that we failed to capitalise on any of those teams? Probably not so much 2012. I think we can agree that squad, in terms of ability, is probably has probably the least amount of that within them in terms of individual skill and merit. But especially the 98 team, it did feel as if we were on the crest of a wave, but it actually turned out to be the peak of Jim Jeffries' first spell at the club.
I think the only one that really irks me is the 98, and it's the same reasons as you've said there. At that time, on another day, we could have won that league that year. I know it's, if you're anti-had, what's it, but we could have won the league that year if we just put a wee bit more effort in. No effort, that's not the right word, but if things had been slightly different. Whereas 2006, no, really. 2012, no chance. That team then, I thought we were going to go on to be bigger and better, and then it all just got decimated. I hated that. 2006, I expected it. 2012, I expected it. And I will expect it to happen again. But in 98, I thought this is the start of something really big, and it just never came. It ended almost within a few months of the final itself.
I think at the time, the 98 one, it would have been interesting to have relived the 98 summer if we still had, with the benefit of hindsight, looking at it through Twitter and social media being involved at the time, because you look at our sort of transfer activity, and we brought in Rab McKinnon and Stephen Presley, and you're thinking, why is there no much more effort to bring in more squad depth in other areas? It did seem a bit strange. Now, obviously, the rumour and innuendo for the years since then would dictate that was the start of the fractious relationship between Jeffries and Chris Robinson. Robinson, by all accounts, wanted to try and get Wim Jansen in after Jim Jeffries had won us the cup. There was arguments about Jim Jeffries wanting money the season before to sign Dean Windass for Aberdeen, and he felt that he just needed that one vital push to get us over the line in terms of the league season. It was actually a very important thing for Rangers and Celtic that year in terms of their games against us. They had very good records against us, and that's what ultimately swung it in their favour towards sort of us finishing third that year. But I would probably agree with you that 98 team, although the 2006 team individually again might have had more ability running through it and experience, the 98 team just clicked. They had the perfect sort of balance of pace. They had the balance in the midfield. Salvatore would sit, Fulton would spray the balls, Cameron would go box to box, and then even at the back, we didn't have a lot of clean sheets that season, but we had a really good back five, really, when you look at how well they've gone on after playing for Hearts as well, some of those players. So I think in terms of legacy, again, I'm looking at it from a 15-year-old at the time. It's always easier to look upon people as heroes because you're still quite happy to give them that label at that age. Nowadays, I'm a bit more reluctant to say the word hero about a football player, so you tend to try and just, I think, more so with guys like McGowan and Scatchell as cult heroes for that sort of spell, or if you want to put out their legends. But the 98 team's probably the last group of Hearts players that I would probably turn around and say they were my actual footballing heroes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The one thing I would say though is if you actually were to make a starting 11 from the 3 cup finals, you would have players for every single one of them in it. I don't know who they are right now off the top of my head. Scatchell, obviously, that's one. But you would have it. So they all had something. Every single one of them had something. And it would be quite interesting to actually pick an 11 from the 3, but that's for another day. But I think 98 has to be the one where you can look back, and there's no very many people at my age anyway that couldn't tell you the starting 11 of that game. 26, I always seem to have a wee mental block with 1 or 2. 2012, I get there eventually, but it was only 6 years ago. But 98, I could name you the team. So maybe that's an age thing, right enough, I don't know.
Now, me and Jimmy have definitely had our say this evening with regards to our best feelings from those 3 cup runs. Now, I'm now just going to go to our Twitter poll. Thank you very much, first of all, to everyone who voted and left their comments over the last 24 hours on Twitter and on Jambo's Kickback. It's really good to see that level of engagement amongst our listeners. Now, there was nearly 1,500 votes cast on the Twitter poll over the last 24 hours. And the 2012 final was a pretty comprehensive winner with 65% of the vote. The 98 final against Rangers got 33%, and the 2006 final got 2%. So well done to you who voted for the Gretna game. Now I'm just going to pick away at some of the comments and just sort of give out a few shout outs to some of our regular sort of contributors instead of comments on the Twitter feed. So we've got Aquapam at Jamtar18. She says 1998, definitely an age thing. So I'm sorry very much for starting that out there with Pam for calling out your age, but by far the most emotional final. A whole generation finally knew what it was like to win a trophy. We had genuinely believed we may never seen it. At long last, it was Hearts. Now we've got Cheesemeister at AHB 1874. 1998 was the most important for me, and probably to anyone else who is aged between 40 and 60. Again, they keep on going on about these ages here, Jimmy. I don't know how you feel about this. Until then, we simply didn't know what it felt like to see Hearts win a trophy, but instead we could only spend many years dreaming about it. On May the 16th, 1998, the dream came true. Now let's go on to Preston Pan's Hearts. He actually goes on to make a point about the 2006 final. 2006 was weird. Still believe that nobody else has had 31 attempts at goal in 90 minutes of a Scottish Cup final. 2012 should have been 10, and the last 30 were a bore. 1998 was just incredible from start to finish and remains my best day as a football fan. Won't be bested. Now, Michael Angelini at Michael Ange, 98 by a mile. Only time I've shed a tear at a football match. 06 was a relief. 2012, I just wet myself laughing. Nothing will ever beat the feeling coming out of Celtic Park that day. even the humping of your rivals in a final. So that was just some of the best sort of comments that I could find there on Twitter. To everyone else who commented though, thank you very much for taking the time to give us your feelings and suggestions with regards to that. This is something that we do want to try and incorporate into our future shows, try and get a bit more nostalgia involved in that. Also interspersing that with some of our interviews that we're hoping to line up over the next few months as well, and hopefully talk about a future run-up which will hopefully continue on Saturday. Any sort of quick predictions with regards to how you see the St Johnstone game panning out on Saturday, Jimmy?
Not necessarily a prediction, but what I hope is that it spurs us on. When we only scraped through 1-0 on Saturday, I did say hopefully now we will go into the next game and we will give ourselves a kick up the backside. And St Johnstone will probably think, oh well, you know, same again, we'll do it this time. If we'd have won that game on Saturday by 2 or 3 and it was a breeze, complacency may have set in. So I think they'll approach the game completely differently, hopefully. I'd like us to try and play 3 at the back with the 2 guys bombing on, because the 4 just didn't work on Saturday. It was a heavy pitch again. I'm not so sure what... I like Randall. I think he's better suited though when teams are going to be coming at us. Your Celtics, your Aberdeens, your Hibs. He's more of a spoiler. I think for bombing on, he's no ideal. So hopefully we'll play with Michael Smith, 3 at the back, 2 bombing on, 6-7-0. I don't know.
I would agree with the 3-5-2. I have to admit. And what I would like to say, although we're going to cover this in greater detail next Monday, I like the attacking intent from Craig Levein in terms of his team selection. But I'm afraid with the state that pitch is in just now,
shocking.
You're putting guys out there that have got a bit of flair, whether that's a Mankwa or Milinkovic. But if their first 2 or 3 touches is to try and control the ball, it doesn't matter how much pace you bring into a team. If you can't give them the platform to move the ball on quickly, it's not really going to work. Sorry about that. So that is always going to make it quite difficult against a very stodgy St Johnstone team who, let's be honest, probably deserved the 3 points on Saturday, especially if you're basing it on the first 45 minutes. We came into it a little bit more in the second half, but like I say, we will touch more upon that next week, where we'll be dissecting the St Johnstone League game and hopefully a victorious cup game as well. Again, I just want to thank Jimmy for coming in this evening and sharing his thoughts on those 3 Scottish Cup runs, and hopefully we will see him again in the studio in the near future. Now, I'm going to end the show this evening with a couple of bits of musical interludes. Now, the first song is just something I'm picking for my own curiosity and of course my own sort of enjoyment here. I'm running the show tonight. Daddy's not here, so he can't tell me what to do, so take care of yourself, guys.